Okay, we should be recording, and welcome everyone to the August 11th iteration of the MicroProfile Live Hangout Working Group Edition. If you are on the call, could someone please, or it looks like someone already has, paste a link to the, thanks Roberto, pasting a link to the chat, so please click on the link and add your name to the list of contributors. This meeting is being recorded along with the chat. Both will be saved up to YouTube, so you can watch it as many times for your viewing pleasure. Okay, so I am going to share the screen.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure how I get to the chat on this phone, so I'm here, but I'm not here.
We see you.
Putting myself in the minutes, though, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if someone wants to add Altice to the list of contributors, that would be awesome.
Barry Bird.
Is it you? It's you, right? URD?
Me.
Yeah, but Bird is URD?
Oh, yes, B-U-R-D, yes. You got to spell it.
Yep.
Okay. So I understand that this is a, okay, we don't have Kevin on. Is Kevin?
Yes, you do.
Oh, you are. Hey, Kevin. Are you in like incognito? Oh, there you are. Okay. Let me make you. The reason I added this, and I realize this is a working group edition. Uh-oh, I think I just made Kevin the host. Let's make you the co-host. There we go. There you go, your co-host. And someone's got something on in the background, so if you can mute, please. And I don't know who it is. Okay, all right, so I realize that this is not a regular meeting, but we kind of have the 4 milestone 1 release in waiting here, and I just wanted to verify, since Kevin and Edwin are on, and we kind of have the discussion going in the chat, are we okay with releasing MicroProfile 4.0 milestone 1 with provided scope for all the specs in the platform spec only? Or are we going to wait for all the component specs to also add provided scope?
I think for the milestone, having it at the platform level is sufficient. I do not want to release the milestone without having the provided scope at the platform.
Right. Okay. All right. So let's. I just wanted to get that out there so I can actually try and push out a MicroProfile for milestone 1. So if someone can merge, actually, Kevin, I think it was Edwin's pull request. If you could merge that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Then
ready for me.
Yeah, and then we'll. I'll go ahead and work on that release today and tomorrow, and should be out by tomorrow. Okay, so
I have a question about this. I thought also, in addition to, I thought Emerson was working to try to help us on this release. Is he no longer helping us, or what's going on that one?
No, so one of the things I need to, well, I think Emerson's on the call. I think one of the problems that we have is that it really requires it requires a committer to do virtually anything related to a release. And so this is kind of a problem that we're having with Edwin. And so right now we're kind of using this as you know, we're learning, you know, Edwin is gaining his committer stripes by working on the release, and it's not very efficient as a process. Nothing to do with Edwin and stuff like that, but you got to be a committer to really do it. So I think what we're going to need to do going forward is for anyone that wants to kind of become a release lead, they're going to need to be a committer ahead of time.
It makes sense.
So sorry, Amelia.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
But we could still have the, you know, assistant or mentee type relationship to, you know, because even though we've hit a couple of hiccups, you know, with Edwin. I mean, his input and assistance has been very helpful. So getting that type of education spread out to more people, I think is still good. But to drive the release, I agree it has to be a committer.
Right, but we still, and to add to what you're saying, and I agree all that, is that we still can pass the baton around every release just to make sure that the knowledge is getting spread around. We just need to pass it to a committer. So.
Yeah, so what might make sense is for the next release, I mean, it's been bounced between Kevin and I, we could bounce it off to Edwin, who we're kind of using, again, as it's a way for him to become a committer. So this is kind of a one-time thing. I think in the future they should, again, I'm kind of restating, already be a committer. And then he could lead the next release, and we could continue to mentee whoever, or mentor whoever else.
I think this is wonderful. We just needed to repeat it because Edwin has been helping the releases for almost a year, including the vacation time, which, you know, it should count. But I think we need to write it out, and we haven't because we're still learning. But I believe this is important. Not only once we're done with this release, we should not only get Edwin to be a committer, but also for him to help us document the wiki on how to move next. And Emerson, you are here. What is your input on this before we go into the working group? Because your input matters, as Kevin said so.
Yeah, the blocking thing about me being a committer is nothing I can worry about that. So, but anyway, I'm available for whatever you want me to do, for learning, contribute for whatever I can help. I'm happy, more than happy about that.
Okay.
Okay, awesome.
You're awesome,
All right.
Emerson.
So I'm gonna switch gears over to the working group discussion. So last week I showed the phases of the working group kind of slide deck. That link is in the notes. And Amelia asked a couple of questions. I don't know if Chandra, and Michael Redlich are on the call, but we did add participant pipeline established. This is by no means a commitment, but we did add a couple of things based on conversations that we've had, all public conversations. So is the New Jersey?
So Mike here.
Yep, I just joined a couple minutes ago. Sorry I'm late.
Oh, awesome.
Hey, you too. Welcome.
Thank you. It's been a crazy morning, so.
For everyone, yes.
So we added the New Jersey jug. Sorry, I can't remember what AC. What it stands for.
Amateur Computer Group of New Jersey.
Thank you.
ACMJ.
It's one of the oldest.
So embarrassed.
It's one of the oldest computer groups around.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you're listed in in the opportunity phase. We're just trying to build a pipeline of potential members. It's by no means a commitment. I added the ACGNJ here. If that's cool, we'll leave it. If not, I'll remove it.
Yeah. And Mike, this is in no way a pressure for you to decide right now or this week. Please, this is why I have added each JOG leader that have been joining these calls to this. And it's you are joining, you're dedicating the time to add value to the discussion about MicroProfile working group. So if you are valuable in the second section, that is the lead organizations identified, that one is the original when we started this working group. And then we go on the next phase, and just let us know if we keep you there or remove you. Take your time. We hope to be done with this by the end of August. So if you can get us something by the end of August, I'm just throwing this soft deadline. That would be amazing.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
you got the email from Chandra from yesterday, and I saw that you've suggested sometimes that we can get together and just
Yeah.
chat to get on the same page, right? So we'll do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So thank you so much for that email. We will answer anything you have not been able to ask publicly for any particular reason. We're happy.
It's not a question of not being able to ask publicly. We just don't want to stall the discussion among everybody in order to.
Oh, those questions are
ask-
valuable here. If you're ready to ask them now, most welcome. This is the moment. This is recorded. This will help not only MicroProfile, but any future working group, because this is a scalable and iterable across Eclipse working group projects. So if you're
Mike-
comfortable, ask now.
Yeah. Mike, do you agree with me that it's better if we just wait and pull our questions together and do it later?
But yeah, it just I was just trying to get up to speed on all the nomenclature and this and that because
28 to 200,
sorry.
2 men out on
That's my radio.
Totally okay, guys. Totally great.
Yeah,
Totally okay.
yeah. So it, you know,
We're not ready to start asking the right
That's
questions.
fine.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for
All
being
right.
thoughtful.
We're
Thank you
looking
for
to
being
do a number.
thoughtful.
We're looking to do a number of things too with our group and to try to rebrand a little bit, to try to get more visibility, you know, things like that. And, you know, we're definitely interested in contributing and helping, there's no question. You know, I've been writing quite a bit about MicroProfile over the last 4 years. So this is something we're definitely interested in doing. And with Chandra aboard, I don't know if he's on the call because I just got on a few minutes ago, but so yeah, we're working hard for that. And we'll definitely let you know. So.
Right.
All right, awesome. And I find it interesting that the ACNJ, the ACGNJ attendees
Sure.
have their connected devices in their name. I just think it's interesting that it's just, okay, anyway.
Oh, no, you know why I do that? I because I was doing some work from home with my development laptop from ExxonMobil, and I was doing 2 Zoom sessions.
Right.
So I distinguish between my MacBook Pro and the Dell laptop I have from work. So it was just easier to
Okay.
do.
All right, moving on to the next topic, the charter, the draft charter. Let's see here. I think this is the right one. Amelia has made some edits.
That's a little better.
What I would like to do is resolve all of these comments, and after the call today, I'm going to lock the document. We really need a consistent document that people can refer to. And I'll leave comments open. Okay, Amelia, so you made some comments, and I think Kevin made some comments below as well. Sorry, I shouldn't be scrolling. I forgot I'm sharing the screen.
I need some Dramamine.
Yeah, sorry about that. My bad. Okay, so Amelia, corporate members.
On this section, let me really quickly summarize to everyone.
Okay.
So under the working group for Eclipse projects, when an organization joins any working group, the organization is allowed to have a commit access to push code, to review and contribute to features and code. And that is innate in the working group. MicroProfile doesn't work that way, but we cannot change what currently is because it's part of the charter that affects every project out there. So my suggestion here is for incoming working groups that are not going to commit code, I would recommend that everyone earns their commit status as everyone else, because that will continue to foster not entitlement to pay to play, but actually to be known and respected among the committers. Currently, there are about 59 or 60 committers, maybe less than that, like 49 because active, those ones they vote. And the problem with this is that not because something is available, it ought to be used. This cannot be adjusted in the charter, but we can write it in the wiki as a standard of what is expected should you choose to join. For instance, it creates the ownership that you work with others, that they appreciate you, not because you are part of a company, but because of your work. I think there is something to be said about this. There are no shortcuts, and no one will convince me of something different on this matter. This is not, we cannot go and to say, yeah, I can earn really commit by joining this group. That is my whole point. So I want to hear more questions, more ideas or thoughts on this. How do you feel? And if you're not a committer, how will you feel if others came and went before just because they're part of this group? I mean, isn't that unfair? So please share. This is the moment.
Well, we know that as a part of corporate members that they do get to have a committer. I don't know if it's specified anywhere how many committers. Can they assign one? Can they assign 50? I just don't know. One. Thank you, Kevin.
One. Yeah.
Okay. And they've earned that right. And by joining the corporate membership, and that is also how the IP flows. That's a requirement. So I understand that aspect of it. So I'm not sure if there's anything to specifically add. It seems like this comment is resolvable.
Yes.
Is there a mention in our charter that you can add a committer? And if so, could we specifically say one?
No, it's not. This is why the comment. We need to specify here under corporate members. We need a sentence that says there's a difference between, Kevin.
Well, is it referenced somewhere else that we can rely on? Like, is it in another doc?
Well, no, I think we could specify that to say that's just one if we just want to clarify that, but that would be under the committer members. That's not under the corporate members.
Yes. Okay, Kevin, you have a point there.
Would it be under committer members or would it be, oh wait. Would it be under committer member or corporate member? Because it's a right that only corporate members have.
Yes.
It's a right, but we are assigning a committer to a specification project.
You see, I have a problem with this. Kevin and I were talking on the chat and the comments.
That's how the IP flow works, right? Like.
Yes, but you see, there are the corporate and the regular committer are different, and this is why I deleted one portion below this document. First, the corporate committers are transferable. If the committer leaves the employer has the right to put and assign that seat to someone else. That means that the committer is immediately withdrawn for MicroProfile committers. For the committer regular that is voted in, that vote is not transferable. So it must go under the corporate members, because otherwise no transfer will be possible. And employers there is the turnover that we cannot control, and we need to make sure that that flexibility is added.
So do we simply say under corporate member that you're allowed to assign one committer to the project, and that seat is transferable?
Yes, that's what we need to add.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Who is this and who is this?
So if we're not a member and we already have a committer member, does an organization get to assign another one, or does that transfer to that person?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know the
Who is
answer to that
asking this
either.
question?
It's a good question.
Who is asking this question?
That was Ed.
Ed.
Yeah.
Ed,
What do
okay,
you
Ed.
think is the right? What do you think is the right answer?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of selfishly, I'd like to add another one, but because I think the one person we do have, I think he earned his way in.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, Neil.
I can
Ed,
understand that argument. If you're supposed to get the ability to assign somebody, you should get the ability to assign somebody. I can see how.
I mean, the verbiage assign is proper enough where, it's up to that person. We don't have to specify any more detail than that, right? The corporate member gets to assign a committer.
Right.
Emilio, what are you
Right,
worried?
but-
What is the morale thing you're worried about?
Hey, Ed, that's a great question. What I worry about is having an unlimited number of, we know now as one, but I have seen groups be added to working groups under the Eclipse Foundation and add as many committers, even if the committers are passive, just because they want the votes or something to go their way. That doesn't work because it creates not only the sense that of entitlement of you don't need to do the work to earn that right to vote, but also the committers that are there do not know who you are. Trust and respect is the most important thing in open source. And without it, we have nothing. We can, the commission code, but and rebuild it, but it only happens when we have respect. So my worry is that one committer seat is okay, but to deviate from it and to use it when you are not pushing code is a bad idea. If the corporation is not going to, you see, it's just repetitive. But Ed, great question. And I want to add something to what you asked. Neil earned his commit, not on behalf of Oracle, but actually by working on different projects and doing these things. When the notification went on, I even +1 that. And it would be unfair for Neil to lose or be transferred, get to lose that status that has a merit on his own right because Oracle now joins for MicroProfile. So I believe that we will have to have one that is you join and you get one.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with Neil.
Let's answer
because
Summers'
Well, I have a comment.
Okay.
In that scenario, just pick Oracle. Oracle may decide for whatever reason that they would like somebody else to have that commit access, but that shouldn't preclude Neil having commit access, right? Even if he's just joined Oracle.
It shouldn't preclude what?
I think it's layered, isn't it?
It's layered.
There,
Oh.
sorry.
Yeah.
We didn't hear you.
So I want to, so that, I'll give a perspective and I want to answer Summers' question. So in my perspective, if you earn your way in, your commit is not in any way tied to your employer. And that, so like if you leave the company and you go work for another company, you still have your commit, you earned it, you were voted in. If your company assigns you and they have the ability to assign one seat and you got your committership by being assigned, and then the company chooses to assign somebody else, either because you leave or they need somebody else, then you lose your commit because you were assigned, you weren't voted in. Your employer has chosen to give that commit to somebody else.
That makes total sense. We need to write it out.
Now, in the statement of Summers' question, does your commit, do you get 2 votes? I would say, like, no, a committer is a committer. You don't get 2 votes. Now, if the company chooses to use you as their rep, you're voting on behalf of the company, not yourself. So you have the ability to vote in the committer vote.
So you can only ever have one hat at a time.
So
like if you become a corporate commit, if you get the corporate committer seat, when you've already become a committer through the community process, you lose your community hat while you're a corporate member?
No, everybody gets the ability to have a community hat, period, if you're a committer, regardless. So everybody who's a committer gets to vote in the committer election. Like, because there's the committer silo, and then there's the corporate votes that happen. So like, for example, if Kevin becomes the committer, if Kevin becomes the representative for IBM, he would still be able to vote in the committer vote, like all the rest of us. He wouldn't be excluded from that. It's just that there he's voting as himself. When he votes for IBM, he's voting on behalf of the whole company.
Great question, Sam.
Now, if Kevin was appointed, sorry, Kevin, you are the example here. So if Kevin was appointed by his company, and then for whatever reason, maybe switch jobs, right? And so that company assigns somebody else, he could still be proposed as a committer and voted on separately.
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
So-
like, let's have
That
someone
makes sense.
voted in.
So
Yes.
let me just, I would hate to see there be a tiering of committer members, right? And I guess I'm a little worried, David, about the way you described that, is that there might be some sort of, hierarchy of committer members. I wouldn't want it to turn into that. The Eclipse Foundation, when somebody leaves employment, I know this as a fact, when somebody leaves Oracle, Eclipse will try to contact that person, ask them if they want to remain in a committer status. They do need to re-sign their paperwork, but that committer right belongs to the person, not to the corporation. I don't know if you want MicroProfile to have something different here or not.
No.
The votes for ballots, those belong to whoever the designated committer is. Right? I totally get that. Any kind of a vote in a meeting, or not related to a specific specification or the evolution of a spec, that belongs to the corporate designee.
Yeah.
Right.
So Ed, you have a fantastic reminder of how Eclipse and the turnover from one job to another works, and you are correct. The most important thing about what you just said is that in no way MicroProfile will look to offboard a committer first. It comes, the order needs to come by the corporation to say, we need to replace this committer that was assigned to MicroProfile with this person. It needs to be a formal write-up, like saying it to the form, whatever way we choose to, because as you said, it would be unfair that, we just withdraw it and the changes occurred. For that, it will be a total discipline by each organization to understand the impact that this will have for the project itself.
Okay. So I'm going to remove my prior comment then about having to submit their name for voting, because it sounds like the Eclipse Foundation already reaches out to see if they want to maintain to be a committer. So I'm perfectly cool with that.
Yeah.
I'm also.
I just want to call the scenario that the only scenario that I'm really worried about is that is that if you appoint somebody, and at a certain point you want to appoint somebody else, what is our policy there? Does the original person get to stay? And in which case, what stops a company from changing the representative every 3 months to wind up with 4 committers at the end of the year?
Correct. We cannot do that. The one seat needs to be.
I want to hear what Kevin has to say, because.
Well, what I want to point out is the item that John brought up on the screen there. And they have the right to appoint a participant representative. And then that's it. And so if they want to appoint someone else, it would be replacing the other person, unless, I'm going to say this, unless that person was already a committer through normal, merit track, through merit.
Meritocracy.
So Kevin, do you think it's cool for us to just copy paste this and add it into the corporate side and add the last sentence you just mentioned? Can we do something like this? We need to write that.
But you see, that's what they try to avoid. They don't want to duplicate things across documents. So we already have a pointer to this document in our charter. So everything in here applies to the charter.
Right.
Okay.
I had a quick question here, based on what Kevin wrote in the chat. A participant representative. That's different from a committer, I gather. Or
we don't have participants. We don't have a participant membership in
okay, because that's quoted. It says member participants, which I assume is companies. No, okay.
No.
Have the right to appoint a participant rep.
Yeah.
Okay, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not necessarily companies. It's just any membership level that's defined.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, and I have kind of what I could be a silly question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Having worked 30 years in an oil company with IP belonging to that oil company, regardless. So this is related to companies like IBM and all that, but this is for the IP belongs to Eclipse, not to the companies that, the representative companies, the ones that are participants. Is that correct? Yeah.
Correct.
That is not my understanding. So
Because,
Hold on,
I mean-
I'll give my understanding. My understanding is that that there is no actual IP assignment involved with the contribution agreements. You still retain your IP. Simply Eclipse has the ability to license that under the agreed license for the project and distribute it worldwide.
okay,
And so what's distributed worldwide is a combination of IP owned by many, many people, not the Eclipse Foundation. Now, the Eclipse Foundation does own IP in the final document that becomes the specification. That document is technically owned by the Eclipse Foundation. But what all materials used to build the document, they're under the open source license with the IP owned by all the contributors.
Yeah.
And so for the purposes of being able to enforce the license that is non-open source, the EFSL, Eclipse specification license, they need to own the IP of the generated document, but it is literally just generated document that's owned.
okay. So, okay, yeah, I think, yeah, like I said, I'm coming from a different perspective because it's not open source. We're here. It's obviously proprietary information, you know, what I deal with here at work. So I was just kind of seeing if there was any connection or trying to see how it's different in the open source world.
Did that answer the question?
Oops.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
This one.
Thank you. So,
All right, so I'm going to resolve this comment. One down and 25 minutes to go. So just a little bit of a reminder here. So I'm going to resolve this and move on to the next one.
On the corporate, Kevin, you were right. Let's keep the document, but I would still have liked to see it here, say a copy paste from that document that says a corporation can assign. I just find it
copy paste, because if you update the parent document, then you need to go and find all the other documents that may have referenced that or quoted that and update them as well.
Okay, that's not scalable. Okay, let's move on.
Okay, so let's see. Looks like you made quite a few edits to the committer member. So the feedback that I gave is, generally speaking, that this is, oh, I'm thinking of a different section. So why don't you, actually, no, this is just a little bit too specific, but go ahead and give a quick 30-second, I'm gonna hold you to 30-second overview of this section.
Yeah, do it. Okay, so long story short, a MicroProfile for the last 4 years, it receives contributions that are beyond code. And we have committers that are, like we have Ryan here, who is a designer behind the creation of the website and a bunch of other things. And like him, there are others who, well, me, but there are others that do not commit the code. And there is no working group under the Eclipse Foundation where the charter is specified that other types of contributions are welcome. Do we want it or not? And I said, I'm +1, 30 seconds.
Thank you. So anyone else have a comment on what Amelia brought up?
Summers, go ahead.
Yes, so as I have grown in my career, I have grown to appreciate skills that are more than just writing code. You mentioned documentation, artistic, yada, 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 but there's also things like management, organization, team building, social skills, soft skills that are so important for a community project, and the lack of those ultimately limit how far a project is able to go. So given all those reasons, yes, I would like that.
And do you think, Summers, that I put the business side and do you think that covers it, or do you want us to adjust that right up? Because I put business side on it, and I said business, it means your IQ, you know, is high on everything that is non-code and is strategic to the specifics, depending on the person.
That it's dependent on the person and what they contribute. Sorry, you dropped a little bit there.
Oh, sorry about that. Can we go back to, John, can we go back to the document?
Yeah,
So,
sorry. I wanted to take a look at what's there because it was hard to tell what was there versus what was being edited. So I was just trying to go back.
Go ahead,
I think what Summers refers to, it refers to actually someone in my position where I am not an engineer, but there are ways that I can contribute to this project and other projects, in terms of design thinking, creative thinking, and kind of business thinking and organizational thinking. It's not in my scope to write code, but it is in my scope to do all those other things.
Yeah. I agree. So do we need 2 bullets there, or can that just be one list of kinds of things that we're open to?
We can simplify it. I just don't want it to say contribute and code. Contribute.
I don't mind. I don't mind expanding the list of things that we're kind of looking for, because it does encourage that kind of to show up. And
what if we just use the word content? Right? It's very broad. Contribute content.
It's not sufficient.
Why not?
Because content doesn't really define everything, I suppose.
Well,
maybe we do need a broader definition.
Yeah, well, you gotta be careful about alliterating a list of things. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly, John, because that's what my concern again is. We are trying to redefine what a committer is, and committers are already defined. And all that we are trying to do here is indicate that, yes, members of the working group can be committers. There's a difference. We aren't trying to define what a committer is. We're trying to define what committer members are for a working group. And I don't think we have to go in and explain what a committer is, because that's defined by other documentation.
And if you try and list things out like we're trying to do here, then at some point you got to figure out you left something out, right? And then you have to go back and modify the charter.
Right. And
so,
I mean, I agree with everything that Amelia and Summers and other people were saying, that we have a lot of different people that contribute, and we've been doing that with MicroProfile. And we have been graduating those other types of roles to committers because we have so many different things that we do with MicroProfile. So we're already following a very generic global definition of a committer for the MicroProfile project. But this is different. We're trying to define the members of a working group, and oh yes, they happen to be committers.
Well, my concern is that we need to rewrite this part. Clearly I wrote a lot, but we can cut it. As you can see, when I copy paste last week, the definition that we find in the, as a committers for Eclipse, what I did now is added the things. I think we can simplify it, but I am not okay to just leave it as it is. And I think I have 2 plus 1s, 3 plus 1s here. And I think we can just simplify it. Not 1 charter, but 2, simplify it. Using that one, the original version from last week.
So what is the difference if we say content here? Content is website, content is docs, content is marketing.
Test cases.
It's all those things. What was that?
Test cases, just
test
adding more
cases.
things. Yep.
Content can be research. I mean, seriously, Vince, what do you think about content?
Content could be a lot of things. It could be copy. It could be design. It could be social. It could be marketing.
Mm-hmm. Summers, what do you think about content?
I mean, I'm looking at what if it says just commit to the Eclipse Foundation projects? And so I'm thinking about Vincent very specifically in this. Let's say that Vincent runs, a MicroProfile conference. He doesn't He doesn't write a lick of code, but once a year after the conference, he says, here are 10 things that everyone complained about. And then he goes back off into the ether. That's a very valuable contribution. That is a very valuable commitment to the process. And that's nothing tangible. Like if all we get is every year Vincent's top 10 list, and it never, that list is never on the website, it's, you know, just an email. Like that's not a commit in the code sense of the word, but I would still like Vincent to be able to be in that pool of committer members who get to raise their hand and say this is a problem.
Well, that whatever that is, that copy content, whatever, it could still be added to the master repo in a document as a document.
Yeah.
Right?
I like the idea of removing just the word code, so it doesn't create this focus there that needs to be balanced. We could just say contribute and commit to the CLIPS Foundation projects. That's clean.
Oh,
Yeah,
Again,
I like that. That works too.
Any of this could still be added to the repo, right?
Okay, so then that is better. I just don't like the contents. So if we can totally, you can say the reject, John, and it will go back to the original. And we can just delete code, move on.
There's no reject button for me. It's only accept.
Then you just got to paste it in.
5 editors in this document. You have the power.
yeah, John, it just depends on whether or not you're looking at the updates based on her code, you know, her suggestions, or if they're just comments. So that there's two different things that are all changed here.
Can I ask another?
So this is a comment right here? Oh, that's why. It's just a comment. I see.
Go ahead with the questions while John and Kevin on this document.
So my limited contributions to open source, you know, has been, you know, an example for Tommy, and I fixed the bug in Micronaut. You know, it's just a very simple script because I was experimenting with it, right? That kind of thing, and so anyway, so stuff like that. To be a committer, right? I know you have to be, you know, consistent. You have to be contributing on a regular basis. But is it more significant type of contributions, like, you know, adding new functionality to the open source project, you know, regardless of what it is, or can I be considered a committer if I make 1,000 different bug fixes? You know what I mean? So I try to understand that.
Yeah, all the above. I mean, you know, anything that helps the project is, if other people think it's valuable, that'll get you voted in.
Okay.
Is it
Curious, so because you know, because Daniel Santos, right? Yeah, he just got committer for Tommy Tribe, right? Or for Tommy.
For Tommy. Yeah, he was doing largely documentation. Now every project's different. The way we do things over in Tommy don't necessarily apply over here, but but generally speaking, on the profile side of the fence, we've been very open with who we give commit to. You know, like for example, Ryan, he's done like the majority of the art. You know, he did all the logos and the site, and eventually he got voted in as a committer. You know, just to say, you know, he's probably not going to commit any code, obviously.
Thank you.
But he got voted in as a committer as a way to say thank you, because I mean, like literally, that you know, he's a huge impact on the.
Yeah, sure. So as long as you're very active and consistent, you know, and like that, then that's the, you know, criterion for being voted in as a committer. Okay, I'm just kind of curious.
John, I think you did it. There is a red thing. I do not know what the red thing. I think it was added by Kevin.
Does that mean it's super important or super?
Kevin, yeah, Kevin, can you just clean up that paragraph to the way it was?
Yep, I'll take care of that.
Okay. And Kevin added some additional points below.
Yeah.
So we have to add, yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, so this area here, because we're defining what a committer member is, then they have to be defined here. It just kind of provides a summary. Now, I have this as elected or appointed because that's a whole nother item that we still have to figure out as to how we're going to handle that. And, you know, there's some discussion out on our Google group and stuff. So one way or the other, it'll either say elected or appointed. But for right now, I just wanted to put that placeholder there to indicate that we need that column.
It's perfect.
Yeah, good catch.
It's so good. So good.
All right, so that is, wow. Got through the
We
rest
need to go
pretty
down.
quick.
There's more at the bottom.
There's
We
more?
need to,
Oh,
yes.
inquiring
Yes.
minds.
Oh,
I was kind of bummed we weren't done.
Yeah, Paul Bach replied less than an hour ago before this call happened and answered the questions that Emily asked. So if we go into the agenda, John, and check the forum thread that is linked to the agenda, we can see his reply.
I think I might have that up.
There you go. And thank you, John, for being so patient with the agenda and the sharing. It's like so amazing.
So, let's see. Emily is not on the call today. Oh, is she on PTO today?
No, that's
But you can go down to, Paul did a Q&A within Emily's email. So you can go back to Paul and it will be super easy to read.
Yeah, I'd seen this just briefly before the call, which is why I brought it up. I haven't had a chance to really consume much of this. This is just from before the call.
I will give you a quick summary of the part that I liked. We, MicroProfile, can use any voting system that is compliant with Eclipse Foundation. It doesn't have to pay or use the Eclipse Foundation voting system. One. MicroProfile can choose either to appoint a committer to vote on behalf of the committers using like a proxy, or get the committers to vote someone yearly to represent them. The third part, actually that was the most important thing. I do not know anything else.
Okay, so the way Jakarta works is there's a committer member who right now is Aryan, who can vote, right? And he votes as a representative, kind of like a republic, I guess. So what we have proposed is that, so that way is obviously applicable here as well. But what we've been choosing to do is to let the collection of individual committers vote. They come up with a result, a yay or a nay, and then that committer member would have to vote that way.
A proxy, and I'm +1 on
proxy.
that. Not okay with it. Not okay with the other one that just out of the blue you will vote without asking and without having a commuted vote. We, Tommy Tribe, is a +1 on proxy.
Did we discuss last week, what about with the ad hoc issues, we're basically saying we meet often enough that those things would be discussed before any kind of vote would happen.
With the proxy concept, I mean, what kind of overhead do we want with that? Like, I know there's at one point in time in the early formation of the EE4J PMC, for example, that we said, oh, let's just pass the baton on who is, the chair of the PMC, just so we can keep the concept of fairness there. We were going to pass it quarterly, and we even came up with a list of what the rotation would be. Do we want to do anything like that? Or do we want to just vote one person a year? I mean, this is ultimately the committers who should get the loudest voice in this discussion. It would be nice for them to have, like, at least two. They would need at least 2 people, because not everyone's going to be able to attend or vote or be there all the time. So it would be great if there's at least 2 people who could be in order the proxy, like.
So I will give my perspective here as a committer of MicroProfile. I would like to vote for 2 people, because there are people that takes vacation, and sometimes it's a month or 2 months. To vote yearly. I think every 3 months is, because the meetings are every quarter, it's too much to vote on that, but every year. What I do not like to see, and I'm super biased on this, is entitlement. It tends to happen because we're humans, that we allowed someone else to do the talking for us. So please, let's do it once a year. Everyone votes 2 people, and move on. And anyone can suggest anyone.
It could,
But hopefully,
yeah, I mean, it could be the kind of thing where it's just like the first committer to vote on the thread is the representative. It could be super simple, but yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's, I mean, this is not, is this a charter thing? I think this sounds like something that's a process oriented thing that's not necessarily in the charter.
It is in the charter. In the part, if we go back into the charter, there is the area that says a proxy will be dedicated. 2 proxies will be dedicated on this side. So John, if you open back to the,
Sorry, I keep going to the wrong place here.
yeah, so go down please, and then it says a proxy will be 2 proxies will be assigned. There you go.
Well, I think what's definitely part of the charter is where it says the proxy has to vote the will of, has to vote.
Mm-hmm.
That part has to be in the charter. How
Yeah.
we assign the proxy, we can evaluate that over time and just.
That doesn't really matter, but a proxy will vote based on the committer's vote. And usually committers vote at public anyway. There is no way around to vote against what is the actual vote.
We just need
So
to come up with some language that says that the proxy has to vote based upon the committer vote, the overall committer vote.
So John, go up, let's write that sentence, and then we're done with, we can go on this one, composition.
Sorry.
There, I think we already have it. It's just that we need to say that the committer vote, that this is happening by the proxy, and that's the rules the proxy has to follow.
One sentence.
I'm reading, sorry, Kevin's composition here. So he added, like earlier, he added the column to the how the committers are appointed or voted. This one says or assigned or appointed. This is committer member seats are allocated following the CLIP's single transferable vote. So is this just verbiage you pulled from somewhere else, Kevin?
Yes.
Okay, that's kind of what I figured.
And so then the idea is that we still need to identify how we are allocating the committer members, and that's what we just discussed. So I was just trying to fill in the blank there from
Okay.
Right.
working groups.
If we do it that way, though, if we put that in the charter, we can't try other techniques.
Yeah, I think we need to delete that part. Like, it's not included in the other document under committers. And didn't we say that we wouldn't add much stuff to this document?
I think he wrote that before we made that comment. Or did you just?
Okay, so let's delete it.
Well, okay, but we still, I mean, we at least, I can understand based on what, Paul Buck just replied that we could do a proxy. So then that kind of
Sorry.
overrules that statement about a single transferable vote.
Right.
Correct.
So
So we
that
need to delete.
part, yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Let's delete it, John.
Well, we have to have committer member there because
Yeah,
committer member that's
we have to
composition.
define the committer member acts as a proxy for the overall committership or something like that.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
And we have proxy on the bottom. I think we need to go and see where we added.
Let's give
That
John a little time to write. So I know also I'd like to be on the other side.
2 minutes. This is going to.
That project of, I don't know, working group committers.
Yeah, all committer, all project committers, I think is fun. You just say all committers.
Yeah.
And then you can say, the committer member must cast their vote
Yes.
as detailed below.
Sorry, trying to mentally think of the right wording here. It's not aggregate. As I want to put down majority because it's going to depend on the vote.
As the vote, the committer member must committer proxy. Why do we add the proxy here?
Collective is like the right word. Collective.
Collective committer. Sorry, this is not going to sound right yet. I'm just getting the thought down. I wish to God Google would add committer to their dictionary.
Why don't you add it on your end?
I like the members,
Options,
the
there you
members.
go.
Yeah. What I like about this part is that we can choose 2 a year, and then we can try stuff and see what works, and just keep it super simple, like David mentioned, and not renewable. You know, when we work on that side, we definitely need to make sure that everyone gets a chance to go and be a proxy, so that entitlement is checked. We do a self-audit every year. It's not like a politicians. What I don't want to see, and I will be biased again, what I don't want to see is asking
with that. Yeah.
the title to be pushed and a standard for someone to make a life out of because it's a proxy, right? This is not a politician that will live through it and be known as the proxy, right? So we need to make it as even as possible. You are nothing else than the voice after the votes. If that is clear, then we have super amazing community as we have it now.
So I think I heard you say, Amelia, 2 proxies. I must have missed that discussion
2.
because, okay, but now wait, because how do you have 2 proxies and they're both voting in the interest of the committee members?
Alternate. So every company, every working group will have an alternate. And
Oh, okay, got it. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, alternate. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying it. Total override there.
Yeah, so John, I think you just need to tie this thing, you know, like saying that they must, you had a good sentence in there. You can say, are obligated to vote in the interest of all committer members using rules below, and then you can just kind of shorten that whole highlighted thing. So it just contains the essential. You really just need that first bullet.
This one.
That's the one you don't need. It's that whole section there. That's really all you need.
Hey, this whole section?
Yeah.
Sorry, I haven't even read it yet, so I'm trying to figure out. So I don't want to resolve that yet.
That is resolved.
Hold on.
Well, yeah, give Paul a chance to get feedback before you call it resolved.
Well, I don't see how this completely resolves point B though, because in the case where you have a vote where there isn't sufficient time to run a community vote, how's that committee rep going to choose to vote?
Scott, we said last week, that if MicroProfile cannot by itself 1 week when it meets quarterly, we have a problem. We will always make a space and time to vote. There would be no hash votes because that is not what we do.
Well, the problem is going to be.
But it's a question of something comes up and you have it the day before a meeting. This happens all the time.
That will never happen. That will never.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
In today's platform call.
But that is a different philosophy. Jakarta works. I will not go into details, Scott. I love you. But that doesn't work with MicroProfile.
We are trying to make sure the majority of votes are not working group votes. They're simply Eclipse development process votes. So the majority of votes are just going to be run using the Eclipse development process. Just because you need to make a decision doesn't mean it needs to use the specification process. The only time that we're really needing to use the specification this particular style of voting and diverge from the Eclipse development process is when we're voting on the specs itself, or if we're going to amend the charter or budget. And none of those are really fast things.
Correct.
And okay, so I apologize. I've been negligent in my clock management here. We're actually over. Scott, I'm gonna let you go ahead and have the last word before I close the call. I apologize. I lost track of time.
Well, and then I think you have to reflect that to fully adequately address his comment. And then I guess his feedback is going to be on the form of, is that still consistent with those current processes, which I assume it would be.
I'm fine reflecting that.
Yeah.
We discussed this several times, but the number of times we've discussed it makes it clear that we should have some reflection of it in the charter, that we intend to limit the votes and to make the majority of them eclipse the development process votes.
Okay, I apologize, time out here. Just let's, so let's take what our thoughts that we haven't necessarily finished, put them on the Google group if we think so. Next week, during the meeting, the regular live hangout meeting, in the working group section, the working group half hour or more, depending on time, we could finish off this thought discussion, and then I think Amelia had some ideas around budgeting. Obviously, we can't finalize anything, but we can at least start thinking about things and getting them out there. So let's reserve that for next week. And I'm going to go ahead and close the call. Thanks everyone for joining today's call. We'll see everyone hopefully in a week. Same bad time, same bad channel during the live hangout.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Really good discussion.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.